Everyone. Your seats. Settle down. Everyone, welcome to today's senior speeches. We ask that you please silence your cell phones before the event to honor today's speakers. Our first speaker today is Maggie Tomaszewski. Maggie will be introduced by her coach, Carrie Lawler.
Hi. So some of you who don't know me, I'm in the lower school, and something that I really love about the opportunity that I have working with these students is that I get amazing people that I do not see day to day in my classroom with my kids. One specifically amazing student is the Maggie Tomaszewski. I've gotten to coach her in both lacrosse and field hockey, so I get her for 2 seasons during my time that I've been at collegiate. And something that's really impressed me about Maggie was just, especially this year, was her ease that she came into the season of stepping into that leadership position that she had. She is that type of player and that captain and that leader who keeps the team together. It doesn't matter if our defense is getting pounded by assumption at that moment, or if there's absolute chaos at all times. We all knew that in the back of our field, Maggie was going to be her calming voice guiding us where we needed to go. And at her age and in a place like this, like that's something that you don't come around a lot. And for her to just naturally possess those skills was something that really added to our program here at in the field hockey world and in lacrosse. I mean, we do call her El Jefe for a reason. When we're in the lacrosse field, she is one of our goalies, and she has this way of not bossing everyone around, but she has that control. She knows what she needs to get done, and she does it, and she helps her team get there. It has been probably one of my favorite things working with these upper school students and getting this opportunity now to be introducing Maggie Tomaszewski. I know that based off the leadership quality she has now, that once she goes on to her next field of adventure, she's going to be able to possess those and carry those into whatever she may do next. And now, without further ado, the wonderful, amazing Maggie Tomaszewski.
If you know me at all, you would be aware that I am quite a studious person. I always complete my homework the night it's assigned. I tutor multiple of my peers. I love class, and I have been called a nerd on numerous occasions. I'm also definitely a self-proclaimed perfectionist. Because of this, you would expect me to spend countless hours writing the perfect senior speech, which is debatably one of the most important writing assignments of my high school career, right? Well, you were wrong. I am absolutely putting no effort into my speech. Now, I know I have to give this speech to be able to graduate, so I'll still have to stand up here and talk to you about something. So because of this, I have decided that I'm going to copy and paste a writing assignment from my past. I am fully plagiarizing a speech from my 4th grade self. Now, for some context, in my 4th grade class was tasked with writing a speech for a speech competition. My whole class spent weeks preparing and memorizing our speeches about various subjects such as sports, funny stories, favorite foods, all of which were lovely topics for a 9-year-old. I, however, decided to write about something completely different. I wrote about my pet hamster, Oreo. My 4th grade classmates, Jeffrey and Lily, have already heard this masterpiece, but I'm sure that they'll be thrilled to listen again. So let's get into what my 4th grade mind had to say. Have you ever lost something special to you? I'm going to tell you the story of the day I lost my pet hamster, Oreo. I was playing my iPod, and I was also holding Oreo in my lap. I was so interested in the game, I forgot I had Oreo. And when I finally remembered, it was too late. She was gone. I immediately ran to tell my mom that Oreo was missing. She was afraid that my 2 dogs, Ozzy and Rexy, would eat her, so she locked them up in their crates. Then we started to search. We looked and looked and looked. I was scared and sad. We looked for over an hour with no luck when we decided we needed help from a search hound. Rexy to the rescue. Now, Rexy has been known to chase chipmunks in the garden, so my mom let her out of her crate saying, "Rexy, go find the chipmunk." She made a beeline to the air vent in the living room, stopped and sniffed. We went over to her, and sure enough, we heard screaming and scratching noises coming from the vent to the furnace. My mom dashes to the thermostat and shuts down the furnace. Oreo will not turn into a hamster kebab. But now that we knew where she was, we did not know how to rescue her. This time, my sister and half the neighborhood kids came over and learned about the situation and wanted to help. We all tried to lure Oreo out of the air vent in the living room, but the climb was too steep for her to get up. We went to the basement to try and find a way to get her out. We could hear her, but not see her. Time for the big guns. Time to call my dad. Since this was a life and a death emergency, my dad left his business meeting early to come home. By this time, we knew exactly where she was, but there was no opening to get her. We thought about calling the furnace guy to help, but hey, my dad's an engineer. He should be able to figure it out. My dad had to get his metal cutters and cut a hole in the air vent. We still could not see Oreo, but my sister thought of the great idea to put her iPhone in the hole and take a video. Sure enough, she was in there. At this time, we tried to lure Oreo out with Cheerios and peanut butter, but she was so scared, she took the Cheerios in the corner right next to the chute into the furnace. We decided to make noise by pounding on the metal with a flashlight in hopes to scare her down the hole. It worked, and she jumped into the furnace. Good thing ears off. So now we just had to take apart the furnace door, which was easy, and soon I had my cute, cuddly hamster back safely in my hands. We gave her a thorough head-to-toe examination to see if she was okay. We noticed a hard lump on the side of her shoulder, and my mom thought she broke her collarbone. She even called the vet. After my dad took a closer look, he explained to us that hamsters have food pouches and that the lump was just a clump of Cheerios. I was so relieved to have Oreo back and have a great story to tell. Wow, wasn't fourth grade Maggie such a great writer? I think so. I had such a way with words, especially when I wrote, my mom dashed shuts down the furnace so Oreo would not turn to a hamster kebab. I honestly can't say I would say anything different if I were to write this speech today. Now, if you remember, I told you that this assignment was part of a contest. I remember giving this speech for the first time all those years ago. I was sure that my speech is going to advance to the next level because at the end of the day, I'm a perfectionist and this speech was perfect. Unfortunately, my fourth grade teachers, who also acted as the judges, did not appreciate the story of the little adventure that Sweet Oreo went on. I, in fact, did not earn the high score, thus not advancing to the next round of competition. And I took this news very hard. When I received the news that my speech was, in fact, not the best, I cried for days, and I mean days. I argued that the only reason I didn't win was because the girl who beat me was the daughter of one of the judges, and I still firmly hold this belief to this day. Besides that, though, my speech getting eliminated out of this competition led to it getting lost within my mom's Word document program on her 10-year-old computer. It was left there with no thoughts being thought about it, and that is until today. Today, it's my fourth grade speech's time to shine. It just got delivered to my entire high school, and I know my 9-year-old self will be so proud. Now, I know what you must be thinking. Wow, Maggie's so irresponsible. She almost let her hamster get turned into a hamster kebab. Although I have to agree with this, saying this whole situation was entirely my fault, I would just like to defend myself by saying I was playing a game on my iPod that had me build roller coasters and it required my full attention. But yes, at the end of the day, I was a horrible parent to Oreo for putting her or him, we were never quite sure if she was a girl or a boy, into harm's way. Today, though, I can proudly say that that I've intentionally put my into the care of my 2 guinea pigs, Gilbert and Milo. I do so much for them, including running an Instagram account for them, which as of today has 1,031 followers. And if you're interested, their tag is Gilbert_and_Milo. So looking back on this whole experience of writing and delivering this speech as a whole, I think I've been able to come out having learned a lot. At this time in my life, I was so stuck up on being perfect. I felt the need to be the perfect pet mother, the perfect writer, and the perfect public speaker when I was only 9 years old. Because of this, I let my perfectionist nature take away the joy of the entire situation. I could have taken this entire series of events as a learning experience, but instead I got caught up on everything I did wrong. Overall, I now see how much being a perfectionist really ruined some learning experiences for me. Obviously, no one is perfect, and this is a fact that I spent multiple years trying to accept and only recently have been able to truly understand. I'm glad I've made all the mistakes in my life, because without them, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So just to conclude, I'm sure you all are dying to know what happened to Oreo in the end. Well, I'm happy to report that Oreo did not suffer any injuries from her adventure in the air vent. In fact, she went on to live another 2 years. Unfortunately, though, she did eventually pass away from obesity, or in other words, too many Cheerios. Thank you.
Our second speaker today is Madeline Jamie. Madeline will be introduced by her father, Matt Jamie.
Convenient. You all ready for this? I often describe Madeline as a thriving cactus. Low maintenance, somewhat prickly, but very good boundaries. I'm not worried about you at all in this world. Thought it'd be easier to just come up here and sob and then say her name. You see things at 17 that I still struggle to see today. You have a love of adventure. You want to experience life, and you see things in black and white, good and bad, and right and wrong. Very easy. You speak your truth, always. Knowing what you want in life and not settling for it, while at the same time letting life come to you. It's a vision, and you have it right now. I want you to hold on to it and grow with it. This is Madeline, Maddie, Mad Dog, my little cherub, Madeline Elise Jamie.
Today, I'm going to talk about being a daddy's girl. If you know me and me, my dad and I are a lot alike. I don't have one specific moment in my life to notice this, but my dad reminds me that I'm a daddy's girl. My dad's favorite story to tell of when he thought I became a daddy's girl was when I was around 3. I was sitting in the back seat strapped into my car seat while he was driving. We had just left the grocery store where he bought fried chicken. He was driving and eating a drumstick, and I asked him if I could have it. I proceeded to eat the whole thing. So my dad asking for chicken is what made me a daddy's girl. This was him seeing him in me for the first time. For me, there isn't one time I've had this realization in my life, so I'll talk about a few. To everyone who has seen my dad, now you all have because he just introduced me, I get told I look like him a lot. I love introducing myself to adults, and once they hear my last name, I get asked, "Are you Matt Jamie's daughter?" Then they proceed to tell me how much I look like him. Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment. When we went to Colorado 2 weeks ago, we went to Red Rocks, and this woman came up to him and told him over and over again how handsome and well-dressed he was. She asked him if he would model a bag for her. He did. For me, this experience entertaining, to say the least, as he was running and jumping down the stairs. Recently, my dad got into painting. He has turned the basement into his own personal art studio. There's splatter paint everywhere in any color of paint you could think of. It's plain and shimmery version. His new love of painting means every time I walk into the house, there's new painting hung up on the wall. Because of his new artistic interests, we've been able to start painting together. We enjoy painting together, at least I do. Our collab started because I had to come up with an idea for my next art project and thought, maybe I'll do a collab piece with my dad. Maybe that could be cool. My dad started the painting and then I finished it. It's fun to see his process and the way he likes to paint. He pours paint everywhere and sees where it takes him. Doing these painting includes personal things to us, painting the words blink, blink, which represents an interesting form of communication me and my dad have. I like having something in our paintings that no one else knows what it means except us. My dad has turned into quite the spiritual man, and he likes to reflect that onto me. Everything has a deeper meaning to him. Almost every day, he asks me what brings me joy and sends me a list to write 10 things I want to do in my life. And Dad, I have no idea what those 10 things are yet. Me ignoring this list doesn't make it go away. Occasionally, he resends it to me asking if I've written them down yet. The answer is no. My dad likes to live life not knowing what's next. He lives in the moment. For example, one summer, he took me and my brother to Las Vegas. On the plane, I remember asking him where we were going to stay, and he said he had no idea. That's great. He ended up finding a hotel. Walking into this hotel was an experience on its own. The line to the front desk looked like waiting in a line for an amusement park ride. By the time we checked in and walked to the room, there was lovely decor in the hallways, a plastic bucket catching dripping water from the ceiling. That was the first red flag. Then we went into the room, and immediately my dad started finding another hotel as Max and I explored. We found dust bunnies hanging from the ceiling, burn stains on the wall, and there was a fabulous smell of Fabuloso covering up the smell of smoke. Though our trip started off a little rough, we had fun in the end. Every trip I go on with my dad, I learn things about myself. I learn what I like to do and what I don't like. He allows me to explore and lead me through experiences I couldn't have without him. And a wise man once told me, you live life through experiences. Thanks, Dad. Being a daddy's girl, I've been able to learn a lot. I've learned to have standards for myself. I should never have to open my own car door or walk on the outsides of sidewalks. I have been able to develop what I want to in my life. I have learned a lot from my dad's experiences, mostly good parts that I'll incorporate into my life, and then things I won't be doing, but it's good to learn from other people's mistakes. I think it's good to have a person in your life you can go to and talk about anything and nothing. For me, that's my dad. He goes to concerts with me when I have no one else to go with, and I go to concerts with him when he asks. And he'll go to dinner with me on Friday nights if I have no plans. Thank you for being there, and I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to. Blink, blink.
Our final speaker today is Caitlin Hendricks. Caitlin will be introduced by her cousin, Isaac Levitch.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Recently, I did an ancestry test, and it turns out that Caitlin and I are actually first cousins. So that's why I'm allowed to introduce her today. Wow. What a small world. All right. Everybody hold up 5 fingers. All right, put a finger down if, as of today, you haven't done your laundry in over a month. Actually, exactly a month. Put a finger down if you had an emo phase. I need everybody to put a finger down. I know a whole bunch of you had an emo phase. All right, put a finger down. Put a finger down if you ever hit a speed bump going 35 over. All right, put a finger down if you've ever entered the Newport Aquarium, yelled, "Ooh, fish," and then immediately stuck your whole arm into the do not touch display case. Lastly, put a finger down if you've ever stepped out of line only to be humbled by a wild raccoon. If you saw Caitlin with scratches on her face a few weeks ago, that's literally what it was from, a raccoon. Caitlin Hendricks, everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is Caitlin Hendricks. I feel like it's safe to say that I've had a few different unique experiences throughout my life, good and bad. I'd like to say that I'm a very positive person, so I did not want to write a depressing senior speech. A few weeks ago, I started writing my speech, and let me tell you guys, it was good. It probably traumatized Miss Cleaver and made a great first impression of Mr. Cherry, but I spent hours on it, so I turned it in anyways. But 1 week ago, I found out the most dreadful news. To some, it may have seemed inappropriate, so unfortunately, it did not get approved. Hours and hours of working on my masterpiece was all for nothing. Sorry. This situation did not go as I planned. This was my last straw of disappointment. So for my last minute speech, I decided to appropriately write about how nothing ever goes my way. But throughout writing my new speech, I reflected on my past experiences and realized that things don't always happen how you want them to. You just have to be patient with yourself. Let me start off by saying I'm not alone with this. My friends deal with having bad luck as well. For example, a couple weeks ago, I was hanging out with a few friends, my boyfriend Murphy, Isaac Lovitch, and my best friend from Chicago, Anastasia. Anastasia's a pretty girl. Isaac thought so too. By the end of the night, Isaac embarrassed himself. Let's just say that. The bag was completely fumbled. But it's fine. It happens to the best of us. And stuff really did happen on the first day I ever hung out with Sophie Rogers. Unfortunately for her, people were watching. It was broad daylight and we were right next to a busy road. Homegirl, all I gotta say is you better be praying those people have a dog. If you know, you know. But even if they don't, it is what it is. Even though Sophie and Isaac are both going through it, I'm right there with them. When I was 15 years old, I was invited to go on a vacation with Sophie to Fort Lauderdale. I booked the flight 4 hours before boarding time. At 4 a.m., I'm in my middle seat between two kind civilians. Right before takeoff, I find out that Sophie and her mom weren't planning on picking me up from the Miami airport. So the entire plane ride there, I was trying to think of a way to transport myself to where they were staying, which is an hour and a half away, and I had no money. And that's only if I make it through one of the busiest airports in the country alive. I couldn't tell my parents because I didn't want them to think that Sophie and her mom were bad people for low-key ditching me. So brave me started to panic. When I get anxious, I start to twitch and sweat. So that's exactly what started happening. I was trying to contain myself so I wouldn't scare the 50-year-old men that were sitting on either side of me, but holding it in only escalated my nervous bodily issues. My stomach started to hurt. Out of nowhere, I immediately climbed over the sleeping man next to me, waking him up, and I started responsibly projectile puking all over the back of the plane instead of going into the aircraft bathroom that was right next to me. Let me set the scene. It was a big plane, where there's 3 seats and 4 seats and other seats. When I was yakking in the back mid-landing, there was a flight attendant screaming at me, literally screaming for me to put my mask back on. And I was like, how am I supposed to put my mask back on without getting waterboarded? And then, come on, common sense. The plane lands and I'm escorted to the front so I can escape the hundreds of stares I was getting. That was the most humiliating walk of shame that I've ever experienced in my life, period. I was almost to the front. I was so close to gaining back my freedom by escaping this tank of artificial air. The door was in view. I was finally getting what I wanted. And then I accidentally stepped on some lady's yellow Crocs. This lady stands up and starts yelling explicit words at me in front of everyone. The only roast 15-year-old me could come up with was to insult her bowl cut. I then went to the bathroom and cried for 3 hours until my dad Venmoed me to get an Uber. This plane ride did not go at all how I wanted it to, but I survived. And even though I never thought I could step foot on another plane, I was fine. Now I'm here and all is well. And I found comfort in exposing myself with this story. One day, junior year, I took a vacay to the Norman Welcoming, Utah. For some reason, I thought Utah was going to be sunny because it's kind of a southern state. So all I packed were tank tops, shorts, and a single zip up. It was November. All I had were my bed sheets to keep me warm in the snowy mountains. Failure of a plan did not go my way. Things also didn't work out for me when Sophie let me drive her car for the first time. There happened to be a gas pump in the way. Wasn't my intention, but her car was fine and I never got to drive it again. My point is, nothing ever works out how I wanted it to. No matter the outcome, I've always had the experience where there will be bumps in the road. And I also remind myself that I'm not the only one who struggles with this. As I've demonstrated, sometimes those bumps are mountains, but nothing's bound to be perfect for me or for you. Throughout all my experiences in this world, I've always learned something from them in the end. Things work out, and if they don't in the short term, they will in the long term. Embarrass yourself? People will hopefully forget about it. Had an accident? Accidents happen. Not prepared for a situation? Work through it, even if it seems as if you can't. Just be patient with yourself and the things you're going through. Thank you, Collegiate.
Can I get another round of applause for our amazing speakers? And now everyone may leave and enjoy your day.